Hello, everyone. Welcome. Music Scene Investigation is on the air. My name's Rich Wildman. I'm the guy with no hair. You'll recognize me from all the magazine covers I've been on. Not really. I mean, I've actually only been on 0 magazine covers. And if you are ever in a trivia contest, you can throw that one at them, and you'll be guaranteed at least one winning answer. It's kind of the way that goes around here. I only have one winning answer I can throw out there. It's the way it is. But anyway, we're glad you're with us today on Music Scene Investigation. We got 3 new songs to go before our panel today. Looking forward to what they have to say about those as we go along. And we're going to find out what everybody in our audience thought about last week's music, the music we heard from the 17th of the month when Mark Lamdansky was on the panel with us. We heard from Full Driven, Kangaroo KF, and Paul Duger. Kangaroo KF, by the way, is an interesting band, not only in that they were voted our Song of the Week, but also I found out what the KF stands for after Kangaroo. It stands for Knife Fight. So Kangaroo.
I thought it was Kentucky Fried.
No, well, that would have been cool too, but Kangaroo Knife Fight I thought was a very cool name for a band. So, anyway, we'll find out what the witness statement said from last week. We're also going to meet our guest panelist here and now. In fact, we're going to do it right now as we are sitting here talking. Over to Las Vegas, we're going first to meet Andrea Bensmiller. Hey, Andrea, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Rich. We've recovered perfectly fine from the earthquake.
I was going to ask you if you were a little shaken up.
No, I was not personally shaken up. I was in a car and I didn't see any of the road buckling that you usually see if you're in a car when you're in an earthquake. So, and then I got home and I went over to my parents and somebody texted there was an earthquake and my dad said, "Oh, I thought I felt something. It was just a little jiggle." You know, because we're used to the big ones. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, being out there in California, where you were at before Vegas, I'm sure you. I mean, a 4.8 is like nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how close it is, but yeah, four is kind of the average thing in California, but the epicenter will always be a lot closer, so you obviously feel it a lot bigger. But yeah, I tell people, it doesn't really count unless the building sways.
That's a good point.
That's how Californians look at this.
Oh, there you go. That makes perfect sense to me. So, any aftershocks? Anything else going on in Vegas that you can let us in on?
There's not a whole lot going on. I think we're ramping up for the summer festival season. This particular month right now is a little bit dead. And this weekend's actually pretty busy. There's a lot going on this weekend. But yeah, it'll start to get kind of busy around here. There'll be some gigs and some big people coming into town to play. So
now I know that you've got a lot of stuff coming up. In fact, next weekend, right here on MSI, it's all about Andrea. It's Andrea's thing. It's Andrea's day to do whatever she wants to do. So what do you have planned for Fifth Sunday?
Well, I can't tell you. I'd have to kill you, Rich.
Well, I guess it'll be a surprise then.
No, please tell me.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
All right,
we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna do the quiz show again, but we're gonna do it, a little bit differently than Ian's, Ian's format that we did last time. So.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good time. It'll be a lot of fun. And we're going to go over to London, England. London, England is where Ian Husbands is, along with our guest panelist, Mr. Josh Conway. Gentlemen, how the heck are you?
Hey.
Good. This is Josh. Josh is in my house.
It's good that he is. I'm glad to see that. It looks like he's really alive instead of Memorex or anything like that.
I do have real friends,
I
say friends. I pay him to work for me most of the time.
I was going to say you couldn't prove it from us talking before the show because you do pay him.
Yeah. But he's a good lad.
I have no doubt about that. I know, Josh, hang on just a second. I want to get to you in a minute because I do have a couple of questions for you before I turn it over to Ian.
He says that to always.
I do. You know how it is. But my first question is for Ian. And Ian, I've got to know this. When I sent out an email earlier this week about the earthquake in Vegas, I didn't say it was in Vegas. I just mentioned that there was an earthquake, and I wondered how Andrea was doing, even though you answered with something unexpected. Apparently, you guys had an earthquake over there in the UK as well.
Yeah, we had a 4.2, I think it was, in Kent, with the epicenter near Dover. I think Nigel Farage is trying to close the Channel Tunnel or something, personally, but we'll see. Apparently it was a bit of a catastrophe. A few people had their bins or their garbage cans fall over, and some patio furniture went for a bit of a Bolton as well. So, it's all good.
Now, did this have anything to do with the Eurovision contest, which just finished up?
Do you know what? I didn't engage in that at all. I don't do the Eurovision. Basically because it's England nil point.
Yeah, my understanding was...
I got bored of that.
Yeah, my understanding is that England didn't have a snowball's chance, and Sweden apparently walked away with it, from what my understanding is.
Did they? Was it Sweden?
I didn't watch it.
No, we didn't watch it. No interest in the Eurovision here, to be honest. It is what it is.
I figured since you were in Europe, you guys might be interested in Eurovision.
What I didn't understand, maybe, Josh, I don't know if you can help me out with this, Australia. When did they become part of Europe?
I don't know, because, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Did they enter?
They entered, yeah.
I didn't watch.
And if they'd have won,
yeah,
then it's normally the winner's option to host the next Eurovision Song Contest, right?
Well, maybe this is it. Maybe we're just finding countries we want to go to for the contest. And
do you reckon it's Angela Merkel sort of trying to get more countries for Europe, us more money? Australia, you came from us originally. We'll have you back. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It could be. They've
expanded to the colonies.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, of course, we're not allowed to compete because, we would put together another dream team and it would all be over. Yeah, Kanye.
That'd be quite interesting.
Think about it. We'd just ship Kanye. In fact, you can have Kanye if you want.
Oh, if anyone gets a chance, go and see Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer's new track. He's an old English rap artist. And he does all his raps in a very typical, yes, old English like accent like that, yes sir, a cup of tea sort of thing. And he's just done a track about Kanye, will you drink the brandy?
Kanye will. I don't know if Kanye will, but Kanye will.
Because apparently he's got a bottle of brandy which he always carries around with him, which he never drinks. I know nothing about Kanye West. I'm only just learning this from Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer.
I'm like that. I've got a bottle of brandy in my van that I never drink.
You have?
It goes round with me.
That's not a bad thing. Just in case you get stuck in the snow and there's no St. Bernard on its way with brandy for you.
Or traffic.
Or traffic, yeah.
Now, Ian, you do have some unfinished business before we talk with Josh. You have to update us on last week's witness statements. So why don't we get to that and let me know and let everyone know, I guess, what the audience thought about last week's broadcast.
Well, it was quite simple. We had 3 songs: Pushed by Full Driven, It's You by Kangaroo, Knife Fight, or Kentucky Fried Kangaroo, however you want to look at it, and She Knows She's Hot by Paul Duggar. And, excuse me, we went with number 2 as our song of the week. And our limited audience, not many people voted this week, but our limited audience agreed with us on every aspect. So we're back on track. It's good.
All right. Well, very cool. I'm glad to hear that. I was getting a little worried that the panel was losing their mojo.
We haven't lost our mojo. It's the audience that's lost theirs.
Ah, well, that makes sense then. That makes perfect sense. And, of course, sitting with you is our guest panelist, Mr. Josh Conway. Now, Josh, I know that you're a singer-songwriter, you're a producer, you're an engineer.
Yeah.
You're kind of like a jack of all trades in the music business when it comes right down to it. My understanding correct on that?
Yeah. Ian refers to me on many occasions as multi-talentless.
That's the one, yes, yeah. He's the kind of guy that after the gig you want to take him out to the car park and beat shit out of him, but you can't help but love him.
Instead, you pay me.
It may have something to do with that. I think there might be an investigation for. Yeah, I don't know. So, all right, now you're in a band. Your band is called Days Remain.
Yes.
And you're also working with Ian in the Freak Jam band.
Yeah.
You've worked with a number of other bands as well. Just to name a few, because I really like the name of one of them. The Quotes. Tetanus,
that's
tetanus Jab, which I really like the name of that. And Level 42.
Shout out to Oggy.
The Level 42 tribute band, Never 42.
Yeah.
So you're keeping busy like 8 days a week.
Yeah. I try to play as much as I can. It's, keeps me from doing a real job. So, at the moment, I'm really focusing on the Never 42 tribute. So we're hoping to sort of put a tour together for next year. But it's with a lot of the guys that do the Illegal Eagles, which is an Eagles tribute. So it's quite exciting. And,
They get a lot of work as well, don't they?
They're doing about 290 gigs a year, I think, at the minute. Wow. Which is a lot.
Now,
shout out to Gareth.
Yeah. In addition to your music experience, you're also doing film work, from what I'm seeing here. Now,
Yes.
you're going to have to keep me up to date on this and let me know what all this is here, because it says here, according to the profile information that I have, that you were in a well, actually, it says he also starred in a film. In a film, directed, or executive producer was Martin Scorsese. The director, I don't want to lead the director out, Martha Pinson. So
Yes.
let's talk about this whole movie career thing you got going on. Tell me a little bit about Ed as well.
Yeah. Well, I work with a singer called Nicolette Street, and her brother is the star of the film. He's the main role in the film. And he phoned his sister up and said, we need some music for this. Can you guys write a song for the film? And Nicolette came round and we kind of wrote about 4 different renditions of, some ideas and stuff. And we sent them over, and the main director, Martha, she listened to it and absolutely loved it. So by the end of the week, we ended up in Battersea in London. And we just missed Josh Stone, who'd been there the day before. She's in the film as well. And yes, we played the song live on the set, and then we did a studio version. And yes, we're in the background playing, and hopefully, I don't know if it's going to happen, but we're hoping it's going to be the theme tune as well. But we're, fingers crossed.
Oh, that'll be cool. That'll be cool.
Yeah,
now, and you mentioned this, and I just kind of phased out reading the chat room or something along those lines. What was the name of the song?
That's a very good question.
Fantastic.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Come on, Josh.
Skin and Bones.
There you go.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but
No, that's good to do it.
But I had to ask. All right, so
this guy's got such a huge back catalogue of songs that I'm surprised you can remember one of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm surprised I remember where I live half the time. Yeah.
All right, now I since Ian is in the same room as you are, I'm going to let you and he talk together, because that seems more like an interview than me over here across the sea in the middle of a cornfield throwing it back and forth, and Ian just staring straight ahead kind of thing. So
I just stare straight ahead anyway. I'll tell you what I do want to know about.
Okay, Karen.
I want to know about the Cheeky Girls.
The Cheeky Girls?
The Cheeky Girls.
Oh, okay.
Weren't they a Eurovision act originally? Or something like that?
I don't know. I think they were was it like a Britain's Got Talent? Not a Britain's
Yeah, that was it. One of them. Yeah, they got bums.
Yeah.
Britain's got bums.
I was playing for Daniel Johnson at the time, and also with the Quotes. And Dan had I think he finished 3rd in the X Factor.
Right.
And because of his sort of, he came out as bisexual during the show, he was booked to play London's Gay Pride
Right.
And we were the stage down the road from where Lady Gaga was playing, but it was still a very busy stage in London, and we supported the Cheeky Girls and Boy George.
Fantastic.
And to be honest, I don't think they're twins.
Now,
I've met them in the flesh.
I just want to interrupt here because something occurred in the chat room that I got a tickle out of, and I don't know that Ian has seen it yet. So in the chat room, Pinky wrote a little poem about the earthquake over in Kent. So Ian, you could probably find that. Just go ahead and read that. I think it will be very eye-opening.
There once was a trembler in Kent that opened up quite a big rent. The trash bins fell over, they felt it in Dover, and Ian woke up a bit bent. What can I say to that? Again, I don't want to get back into this sort of situation we found ourselves in last week where Rich was saying things which sounded very different in England, if that makes sense. But waking up and feeling a bit bent in this country would suggest that I was feeling slightly homosexual.
It actually here in the States would mean you were hungover.
There you go. Well, it's different in this country. This is what I'm saying. We've got to be careful with how we do these things.
Where's the handbook?
Exactly.
Just, last week we had a situation.
Google.
We're going to need to write our own handbook so Americans and the Brits can get on the same page.
We need a translation book. But last week we had a situation, Josh, where Rich was talking about whispering sweet nothings to Mark.
Yeah.
Why he chewed a pillow.
Okay.
Yes, just by the reaction, you can tell that he thought the same thing as I did.
All right. Sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted to give Pinky a little credit where credit was due.
Right, okay, what else can we talk about? And Nick Kayode as well, Haircut 100. How did that come about?
Yeah, well, again, it was through the quotes. We were playing in Henley, which is actually just down the road from where George Clooney's just moved.
Right.
Apparently.
Lovely part of the world,
I haven't
Henley.
seen him yet, but I am looking out. But yeah, we'd just been playing in Henley, and we got a new sound guy. And it turned out our sound guy's dad was Nick Kayode from Haircut 100.
Oh, fantastic.
And Nick came and watched us, and he was on the scene for about a year. And then one day he just said, I don't really talk to much of the Haircut 100 guys, but I've been booked to do a load of gigs. Do you fancy playing? I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And, we did quite a few shows and ended up doing some radio stuff with him. And I think I was playing a shaker.
Nice.
Fun.
But yeah, normally have one laying around. You could have shown us your skills, but
Nick Haywood's a lovely guy. He's a very laid back sort of lifestyle, and yeah, really, really fun to work with him. Actually, it's really good.
Excellent stuff. And tell us a bit about Danger Humane, obviously. No, actually, I'll tell you what I do want to talk about.
Yeah.
Is Drum Key.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Drum Key's your new project. Do you want to tell people a bit about Drum Key?
Okay. Well, as a drummer, I think I started when I was about 2, and I've had various different teachers from England. I've had teachers. I lived in Germany for a while. I've had German drum teachers. I've had. I went to the ACM in Guildford, which is the Academy of Contemporary Music, and had an array of musical experiences there. And I think my knowledge of drums. I don't know if my playing's any good, but my knowledge is there. I know how to.
I pay you for it every other week, so.
And I can teach to people who are in the local area, but I can't teach to people who are further away. So the idea was I want to get my knowledge and put it on a website. And I don't want to charge a lot for it, but I do want to do kind of a subscription-based thing that people can subscribe and get like a Skype lesson once a week or once a month, and give them any questions they have about drumming, they can have them answered. Because I think you can end up looking for a solution to a problem online, and it can take you ages to find kind of.
Yeah, but especially with things like YouTube and so many different people do it different ways.
Exactly, and I'd like to build a community where we can have videos of drummers chatting to each other about their problems and how they solve them, and we can do reviews, and it's just going to be a general sort of drummers area.
Now, you're talking about drummers' problems. I take it you don't just mean sort of technical musical problems, but obviously drummers being drummers, women problems,
all sorts. Yeah,
drink problems.
We've heard some funny ones, haven't we? Down at the Freak Jam.
We know plenty of weird drummers.
we do have a handful of them. Yeah.
And some.
Now, of course, speaking of drummers in Freak Jam, now I know this is something that Ian doesn't necessarily want to have out in the public, but there's this whole Spinal Tap issue we really should discuss. Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, Josh has become one of our regular drummers. We have 4 or 5 regular drummers on the sort of Freak Jam books to come and do the gigs, and we basically put them on a rolling week, so one after the other until it comes around to their turn again.
Yeah.
And we've got all the diaries sorted out. But Josh generally, recently, has been doing a lot of the gigs because, no offence to any of our drummers, I love them all to bits, but they are notoriously unreliable. Or busy, I think is what they like to call it.
we do have the odd. I mean, we have one drummer who is technically probably one of the greatest drummers I've ever seen, and he seems to have this attitude of, I don't really want to drum.
Yeah. So occasionally we get people pull out on us and can't do the gig, and Josh is my go-to man for that. I'll ring him up and, Josh, someone's cancelled, can you do it? And normally his answer is yes, and he'll rush back from whatever he's doing to sort of make sure he's down and cover the gig for me.
Right.
But the reason we do this is because we did have a regular drummer, a guy called Ed, who is still I'm very fond of the guy. He was Norwegian, actually, and he dropped down with a massive heart attack about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago. And since then, we haven't felt the need to replace him with one drummer. We thought to honour his sort of memory as the last sort of permanent drummer, we'd sort of go into this rolling week with different people. Yeah, so, yes, drummers have died.
Now that
is what you're trying to get
across.
No.
Actually, I wasn't talking about that at all. I was talking about the whole stint of scratching off the 10s on the amplifiers and painting 11, but if you wanted to go there, that's fine.
Look, we don't need to scratch off numbers on amplifiers. They always go up to 11. We bought them that way.
I don't think anyone at Freak Jam can count to 11, to be honest.
There is that, yeah. Eight, I think, is the best we can get to. Yeah. Especially the drummers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3.
Well, luckily for everybody involved, including myself, today we only have to count to 3. That's all we have to do today, and I'm very happy about that because we have 3 songs we're going to be listening to on today's broadcast. So without further ado, we're going to get to some new music right now on today's MSI. We're going to start things off with song number 1. Of course, if you know how this works, we don't introduce the artist or the name of the song until after our panel hears it. So we're going to stick to that floor plan as we go along. Here it is, everybody. This is song number 1 on today's Music Scene Investigation. Certainly hope you enjoy it. Song number 1.
Flatline, but the pulse continues, up and down like sine wave. All the rhymes that I gave, all the souls that I saved, all the roads that I pave. I, me. It is we see. I stand on the shoulders of peeps that died before me, but some shoulders are of kids, G. Got shot by cops. Turn those cams on, at least in past times. Had white masks on before they took a shot, before they slipped the knot. Parents didn't tell you, they must have forgotten. Now millennials walk around with amnesia, eating flaming hot chips, GMO as anesthesia. They can't feel what's real. Ooh, they can't feel what is real. We can't feel what's real. Ooh, we have to deal. No guns up my sleeve. Crooked cops deceive, but I can't breathe. No guns up my sleeve. Crooked cops deceive, but I can't breathe. Some peeps might not have a death wish, commit crimes, cops might leave you breathless, as moms stand by, feeling helpless. Prosecutors at times act selfish, just along for the ride. Evidence matters only if it's for the state side. How does one conquer perpetual division? Wanna indict, that's grand jury's decision. No more deals, our lives are real. Hands up, don't shoot, just trying to chill. Hear how we feel. Hands up, don't shoot, no guns up my sleeve. Crooked cops deceive. I can't breathe, no more blood splatter, cause black lives matter. Black lives matter. Unless it's the cameraman or protesters in a riot, then there are arrests, then there are indictments. When all together there's no stopping we, meaning the people in a real democracy. But not right now, more blacks are still property. Play on the radio, they just might dub it democracy, more like republic. Without the banana or colorful bandanas, weather back in heat or just swinging hammers. I didn't stammer, and no, I didn't stutter. Walk up the house, ladies' hearts flutter. Is that the way to live life? Are these citizens' rights? Are these citizens right? Do we have to strike? It's time we shine our light. But we gotta make it bright. Are you scared we might fight? No more raw deals, our lives are real. Hands up, don't shoot, we just tryna chill. Hear how we feel. Hands up, don't shoot, no guns up my sleeve. Crooked cops deceive. I can't breathe, no more blood splatter, cause black lives matter. Black lives matter.
That is track number 1 on the broadcast today. We're going to go over to Ian and Josh first to find out what they thought of track number 1. Josh and Ian, what do you guys think of this particular track?
There's lots of there's some good stuff going on here, and there's some bad stuff going on here. Josh and I were chatting about this during the song, and you know you've got a really good bed of music. You know, the kick sounds nice. There's some nice synth work going on. And then you've got this vocal kind of plonked on top of a well-recorded backing track. And this, to me, sounds like some sort of online collaboration or something like that, where someone's programmed like this really nice track, sent it off to a vocalist, and the vocalist has then sat and recorded his vocals and not done as good a job as on recording the vocals as the person's done on recording the track. They seem disjointed. It sounds to me like the vocals recorded through an built-in mic on a Mac or something like that. There's no real compression on it. There's no real reverbs on it. And there's lots of distortions and clipping creeping into the mix as well. His performance wasn't bad. His lyrics weren't bad. I did feel that his timing was off in a few places. It sounded a bit lazy. More than being off, it just sounded like he was being lazy. I think he could go and re-record a few phrases, and get them a bit more bang on the beat. But yeah, it really did sound like, you know, that backing track was shoved back in the background. That vocal was dominating. It wasn't as well recorded. And, you know, you really need to start bringing those tracks together. Compress that vocal, record it with a proper mic, you know, lose the room noise that's sitting on there. And, you know, get the two working together, because the track's just set far too back and that vocal's up too front. And with the vocal being recorded not as well as the backing track, it really stands out as a problem.
All right. Very good. And Josh?
Okay, my thoughts on it were, like Ian said, we discussed a little bit, very similar. I feel like the track was very well done, but for me it was lacking a little bit of energy. I've done quite a bit of rap stuff in the past, you know, and the one guy I always look for inspiration to is probably like the Will Smith stuff, and he did that Nod Your Head song by it was the Men in Black 3 theme, I think.
Yeah.
And it builds up and it really kicks in and has this energy to it, and I think that this particular track could do with a little bit more energy. But then again, that might just be a case of the vocals overriding everything, and it might be just a case of trying to get it to sit better. It might give it that energy. And again, like Ian was saying, the vocals sound like they were done on kind of a built-in mic, not like a studio condenser. And I think the reverb and compression would have made a big difference. And also, I would have probably done a few more double-tracked vocals and kind of EQ'd them so they didn't have as much presence, but just fattened it up a little bit.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah, that's other than that, I did like the song. It was quite well written. I thought, So yeah, it's literally just down to the production.
Box of Crap in the chat room there is saying it didn't have the passion that the lyrics suggest. As this is I think he sums up the song for me at the end with it said Black Lives Matter, which is a big thing in America at the moment with obviously all the shootings that are going on by the police. And he did lack conviction when it came to that.
All right. Well, very good, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Now over to Andrea Bensmiller and her thoughts. Andrea, what do you think about track number 1?
Yeah, I have some of the same comments. The bed, definitely really nice. I like a lot of things about it. The drums were nice and tight. I think there were some things going on back there that were interesting. It was just hard to hear them because the vocals are so up front and in your face. So there's that obvious problem with the vocals in the mix. Yeah, I mean, it's such an important topic and so big right now in the States that one of the things that as it was going by left me, it's such a good hook, Hands Up, Don't Shoot. It really is. It's the best lyrical hook you could find for this topic, but it's just, it could be, I feel like the tempo could be, picked up, or there should just be some more energy, some more real anger in it. And I didn't hear that. I agree with it's lacking the passion that the topic really has underneath it. And there's a lot of things you could do for that. I mean, you could just really maybe get some live playing going on, or speed it up so that the rap itself is a little bit more energetic, and so that the hook really kind of stands out a little more. It's a really, really good song, and it's well done rap. And I think there's a lot of things you could do with it that would really bring this idea home a little bit better.
All right. Well, I appreciate your thoughts as well, Andrea. Thank you. Track number 1 is called Black Lives Matter, and it's by Kayode Worldwide, and we appreciate their sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. Now, if you want your music in front of our panel, all you have to do is go to musicsceneinvestigation.com, click on Submit a Song at the top of the page, and there you'll find all the information you need in order to make that happen. And as always, we bring you this broadcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. GMT. Its live audio video is provided after the fact on YouTube and through iTunes, and on the website as well at musicsceneinvestigation.com. All right, we have 2 more songs to take a listen to. Let's get to it. Song number 2 on the broadcast right now. Here it is, everybody. This is track number 2 on today's MSI. Enjoy it as we move right along.
Maybe I couldn't see it coming, because you took me by surprise. I've been burned by love before, and I nearly drowned in the ocean of your eyes. And even when I was lost at sea, you came along and rescued me. Now I got you by my side, a treasure I never thought I'd find. then at least I'll enjoy the ride.
That is track number 2 on the broadcast, and we're going to go over to our panel right now. We're going to start this round out with Andrea and find out what her... Well, after I unmute my microphone again, we'll find out what her thoughts are right now. Andrea, what do you think about track number 2?
Yeah, okay. It's a good song. I like the song. I like the whole overall vibe of the song. Good vocalist. You can tell there's some decent players there. The mix to me was so separated. But my first comment is bass heavy, really, really bass heavy. And the guitars panned, you know, it's a nice idea, but they're a little bit too up front. So they kind of take over everything. And then that vocal part and the backing vocals were set kind of, you know, center and a little bit backwards. So it just didn't feel like everything was actually connecting together. And it was one kind of cohesive mix. It needs some production. The arrangement is so stripped down, and I kind of get it. I get the idea, like, let's do this kind of semi-acoustic feeling thing, but there's things that got lost because of that. The bass, it's very boomy and it's very present, but there's not a lot going on in it. There's no line or hook bass-wise to, you know, kind of grab onto. I didn't even notice the drums were there until like halfway through the song. I'm like, what's missing? The drums, really. I mean, the kick was barely audible, and this kind of a little bit of hat and one snare thing. I felt like it just wasn't enough. It wasn't supporting the song. So yeah, I think it needs some work, some production value, some other ideas, a little bit more oomph behind the playing, because it's a good song, and if this is a band, you know, it's a decent band. It's you know, something people might really listen to. So some production, definitely.
All right. Well, I appreciate your thoughts there, Andrea. Thank you very much. And we're going to go over to Josh and Ian, starting out with Josh this time. Josh, what do you think of this particular track?
Okay, yeah. For me, I thought the vocals were very good, and the song was, you know, really well written. But I don't think the music really went anywhere in the song. It was kind of like, from a jam point of view, it's kind of like a singer's turned up and gone, here's the chords, right, I'm going to sing it. And everyone else has just plodded along with him. And it hasn't risen or had any tension build up in what they're doing. The guitars were a little bit, not out of tune, but there was a chorusy kind of thing going on, which I would have preferred to hear at least one of the pans, maybe a straight, just clean acoustic guitar, and it would have given it a bit more texture, and maybe not pan them as you know, viciously, not vicious, but
hard,
extreme panning. And from the drum point of view, to me, it sounded like kind of they'd just stuck one mic over the kit, and it was far too near the hi-hat. Because from a drum point of view, especially production-wise, I think you want to hear the kick drum first, then the snare drum, then the hi-hats, and, you know, sometimes you want to hear a crash cymbal. You don't necessarily want that. And I think if you're stuck for not having that many mics, a good way of doing it is probably to get a fairly good condenser. You know, you don't have to go mad on price, but just stick it behind the drummer's ear and record it from that point of view.
Yeah. Because
then you're hearing what the drummer hears, and it's going to be a fairly decent sound. But maybe try and get 2 mics at least, just to get that kick drum in there.
Yeah.
You know, and if you haven't got great mics and you haven't got a very good sound from them, there are programs like Drumagog, which will let you take a live drum recording and insert samples and have the real, you know, the live drum feel, which is a good alternative. But other than that, I thought that, you know, the song was very well written, and I'd love to hear that, you know, with a bit of work on the production. I think it'd be a really good song. So yeah.
All right, very good, very good. Ian?
Yeah, production. It really is. You've got a good band here, as Josh said. I think there was a couple of tuning issues on that guitar from my liking. A couple of string bends were out and bits and pieces like that. But you've got some competent players there. The drum sounded lazy as well. I didn't feel there was any energy in them. No, as Josh was saying, there was no rise and fall. There was no dynamic to the track. And a lot of that is the drummer's work. The rest of the band follow where the drummer lifts and falls. So I felt the drums were very lazy from that point of view. The guy's voice was outstanding. He sounded to me like a guy called Neville McDonald, who sang in a band called Skin, which were over here. They were sort of like a 90s, sort of early 90s, I'd say classic rock band, sort of in the vein of people like Thunder and Bon Jovi and stuff like that. And they were absolutely brilliant. And these guys need to go back and reference some Skin. Songs like Tower of Strength and stuff like that, which is a similar vibe to this. Because the guy's got the voice to carry this off. It's just the rest of the band that have let him down on this. You've got quite a good song. I did feel it was a tad short. I don't know, it felt like it needed a break somewhere. A middle eight or a solo or something. Just to sort of give your ears a rest before it goes back into the sort of storytelling of the lyrics. But lyrically, it was good. He certainly has got conviction in his voice. I like that rasp on his voice as well when he sort of sings some of the harder notes. So, yeah, I mean, song-wise, pretty good. Production-wise, mix-wise, really lets it down. And the rest of the band need to fall in line with that talented vocalist. They've got a very strong vocalist there, and they need to sort of get up to his level and start knocking it out from there.
All right, well, that makes sense, and I appreciate your thoughts. And Tom Chianti out in our audience, Tommy was a panelist at one point on the program, and we're happy to have him. And happy to have him join us in the listening audience every time we can get him in there. He mentioned, it's been my experience that while you would love to hear what the drummer hears, drummers eat microphones. Now, Josh, I know you're a drummer. Have you ever eaten a microphone?
No, but I know some drummers who probably have.
No names mentioned.
No names mentioned. Yeah, it's. I think for me, from that whole where to put the microphone, side of it, I would have done that, putting it by the ear. But it might be worth taking the mic and actually just the best way to do it is to experiment and try it in different places and see what fits the song, and try not to eat anything too expensive.
I think you're right. At least get a pair.
Yeah, at least try and get some kind of
a good pair of overheads or something like that, and to pick up a room sound as well.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I think Tom has just been watching too many Muppet movies where Animal has obviously eaten a microphone. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I know. Song number 2 on today's program is called Enjoy the Ride, and it is by Mark Stone. We appreciate Mark sending that track in Music Scene Investigation. Reminder for everybody that coming up on June the 10th, mark your calendars now, is our next installment of the MSI Hit List. That's where we take all the songs of the week and put them in a battle royale against each other for a prize package from Landar.com, as well as a PR package from our partners over at Worldwide Indie Radio, the IMC Magazine, and Butterflies Radio, and the guys and gals over at Indie Music Bus. So you want to make sure
and Indie Music Coalition.
Indie Music Coalition, the IMC Magazine, exactly. So you want to make sure you tune in for that. That's June the 10th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 p.m. GMT. We have one more song for everybody to take a listen to on Music Scene Investigation right now, and this is it. It is song number 3 on today's MSI. Certainly hope you enjoy it, everyone.
Stay a wall for your own fantasy. These are humans under your apathy, while you race to kill the enemy. Can you see that we you see that we're all falling down.
That is track number 3 on the broadcast today. And we're going to go over and start with Josh this time around. Josh, what do you think about track number 3?
Yeah, I really liked the lead vocal. I thought that had a great sound to it. And I also, I feel like I've been picking like negative things about drums all day. But one of the things I really liked about that song was actually there was a lot of attention to detail where it came to like vocal delays and stuff like that, and it was quite nice to be able to listen to all that going on. I think one thing I thought was a bit busy was the synth side of it when the beat dropped, as it were. It was kind
Getting
of
in with the kids, man. Beat dropped.
Beat dropped. I think it's the kind of thing where there's a lot of really good musical ideas going on, but it's kind of worth maybe spreading them out and trying to pick one at a time to kind of focus on. And, there was a bit where there was a lot of synth and I would have really liked to hear more what the bass was doing in one part of it. And the drums were, they could have been EQ'd slightly. I think they sounded very much like they'd just come straight out the tin. And It would have been good to have a little bit more post-production on them. But all the parts on the song, were good. I liked all the parts. The other thing was maybe the backing vocals were a little bit too in your face, and they could have been brought back a little bit. Especially there's that one really loud bit just before the beat drops. But yeah. Other than that, no, I definitely really like the sound of the voice. Really nice singer. Really good.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Josh. And over to Ian. Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on here. The production is slick. There's some really nice dynamics going on. So you've got that sort of nice sparse vocal and that sort of drop into that sort of really big sort of say chorus. There's no sort of chorus vocal to it, but that sort of section that sort of mainly instrumental where all the synths are going on. I agree with Josh. The synths do dominate a lot of the time, which is a bit of a shame because they do drown out the vocal in places. Especially that distorted vocal that comes in. It kind of gets lost and you kind of miss what he's saying. Vocalist is very talented, like his range and his feel. And again, the drums are very well programmed. I thought there was some really good programming going on there. But as Josh said, they were all sort of sitting a bit mid-range and, as out of the box. They sounded like, a synth sound. Box of Crap said it also in the chat as well, that everything seemed to be sitting in the mid-range on this. There was no defined highs and lows.
Yeah.
No, you want to feel a sort of bit more on that bass, as Josh was saying, and a bit more on the highs as well, just to sort of give it a bit more space and a bit more air. It was, to my ears, a little tad over compressed. I understand why they've done that. It's the loudness wars that go on, and you know, people are doing this sort of thing. Personally, I would like to hear that a little less compressed, a little bit more space for everything to feel, instead of everything just sort of fighting for its own sort of dominance. Otherwise, yeah, it's slick. It's been very well done. It's been very well put together. It's very well thought through. Some great performances on there. Some great programming on there. It's it's really mix issues and mastering issues, to my mind, that would sort this out.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Ian. Thank you very much as well. Now for the last word, Andrea Bensmiller. Andrea, what do you think about track number 3?
I thought this was a great track. I really like music that falls in this category, whether, I'm not exactly sure it actually falls in any of the traditional club categories anymore. I think that Skrillex kind of rewrote that style a little bit, and this totally reminds me of that. So I thought, the everything about the sounds were great. There's some really, really just tasty bits all over this track. Great voice, really interesting voice, beautifully sung. The melody of the verses I thought was just awesome. Really interesting and so well performed by the vocalist. Like Ian said, the production very, very slick, really nice choice of sounds. And the hooks were there too. We're Not Falling Down, that part with the harmonies that just kind of come in and like bam, just really, really, really nice and very. They were a little bit too in your face, but very powerful. That musical idea, good idea on the bridge with the slightly pulled back telephone voice, singing that Ground Zero line. And then I really liked that the end, brought in some more interesting ideas. I love very big production. I love when there's a lot to listen to. There's some mix problems because of that, because not only, like the guys said, did it all sit in the mid-range, but it also kind of all sat in the same space in the spectrum. So you'd have to really kind of try to find a notch and a place for all those different sounds, so that they are there and present and in the mix, but not constantly competing for your ear's attention, which is what happens when you lay those on top of each other. Really great track. I only have one criticism, and I don't know for sure, but I'm going to say that the chorus part sounds almost exactly like another song. It might even be a Skrillex song that I've heard. I listen to a lot of this on the streaming stations where they kind of play everybody that's grouped all together in that category one after another. So it is a little bit close to my ear to something else out there. And that, I don't know if that could be a problem, but, you might listen for that and see whether that's happening. This progression on the chorus part, that's all just basically a musical hook, is very common, really kind of beaten into the ground. So you might, change that up a little bit, or the next tune you're doing, just be careful about that. But great track, really great track. Some mix issues, but overall very musical, really well produced. Obviously, somebody loved this track a lot, and I loved it too. So.
All right. Well, very good, Andrea. Thank you very much. Track number 3, as we heard it there, is called Ground Zero, and it is by Project Cyrios. We appreciate their sending that track in as well. All right, now
they've been on before, haven't they?
They actually have, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's been a while since we've heard from them, though.
I think they got Song of the Week last time. The track that sounded a lot like Muse, if I remember rightly.
I cannot answer that question off the top of my head, but I will look it up. I will look it up. Anyway,
I'm the one who drinks and smokes, and I've got the memory that you haven't got.
I know you somebody had to have it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, now is the time of the show where we turn it over to our panel and let them discuss and make a decision on our song of the week. So I turn it over to you guys. What do you think?
What are you rating, Josh? Song of the week.
I'd go with the last one. I just think that I think when you listen to music, you can hear the amount of time that's gone into music, and for me, more time went into that last one. I think, and I think the other songs were good, but I think they don't have that. They haven't had that sort of dedication to them.
Totally.
That's my view on.
I'd like to say number 2, just because I really love that guy's voice.
Oh yeah, and I thought that song was really well.
And the song was really good, but it does lack production to make it shine and stand out amongst the rest of the stuff. I mean, you've got to remember you're competing against a huge market on the internet. There's so many indie bands doing their thing, and once you put in a song that's so well written and so well crafted, badly produced, it's going to miss the boat. But number 3 answers all of that for me, so I've got to go with Josh on number 3, please.
All right, Andrea?
Well, it's unanimous today. Yeah, I'm going with 3 too, for all the reasons that I said before.
All right, well, short and sweet discussion in regards to the song of the week makes a unanimous decision all that easier to swallow. Project Cyrios takes the song of the week with their track Ground Zero. Josh, first time on the broadcast, wasn't nearly as hard as Ian made it out to be, was it?
No, I had all sorts. He told me to bring a mask and a cape and some weapons.
That's for after.
You are in Uxbridge after all,
Yes.
You should be concerned when he whips out the whiskey.
Oh, West Strait, my fault. That's even worse for crying out loud.
He's bought the whiskey already.
There you go. It's Jack Daniels. There you are. From
My friend Jack.
down the road in Kentucky. Next time I see him, I'll tell him you said hello.
Is it right that you still can't drink in Tennessee?
You cannot drink in the county where Jack Daniels is made.
That's madness.
It's a dry county.
Some of the best whiskey in the world, or bourbon, should I say? It's not really whiskey. And you can't actually drink it in the county it's made.
No, but they have got the best logo.
They have got a good logo. It's been parodied so many times.
It's just definitely the way it goes. Well, Josh, we appreciate you being on with us. Go ahead,
Josh
Ian.
has got a really great, is it Marshall?
I've got a Marshall cab with a Jack Daniels logo on.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I'm sure Jack will he'll probably send you a bottle just for that, He's a nice guy like that. So we appreciate you being on with us. And, of course, don't be a stranger. Anytime you'd like to come back, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
There's beer and coffee on tap.
Sounds good.
All right. And thanks to Ian and Andrea, as well as everybody out in the audience. Again, join us next week. We'll let Andrea take over the whole show, figure out what she's doing. I don't know. She said something about being naked or something. I don't know. I really have no clue. We'll find out next Sunday.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
There you go. You heard it right here, right now. Be afraid. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. We're going to play out with Project Cyrios, their track Ground Zero, our song of the week, right here on MSI. Thanks for being here. We'll see you again next time.
Bye.
Bye, all.
Nobody's gonna win. Anybody stay the one for your own fantasy. These are humans and they're your apathy. Well, you race to kill the enemy. Can you see that we are going down? challenge to the wall. What could you do without your empire while you race to kill your desire? Can you see that we're all falling down?